One robbed 7 banks. At the same time.
Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG Build Guide Edition. Today I'm ready to drop on you my updated Echo Rive Void Knight, clearing all content well past 400 corruption. As always, I will cover every single facet of the build. Everything is timestamped in the description below if you need to bounce around. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. Starting off with some gameplay. So right now I'm spec'd into my Echo Rive Void Knight and we are using Anomaly, Sigils, Volatile Reversal, Rive, Healing Hands, and an unspec'd lunge. So we do not have a movement skill for this. I really wanted to get Sigils into the build since we are focused on Void, and we have the new Sun Seal ring, which just works really great. So we never have to worry about actually casting Sigils. And this build honestly could not be simpler. You just lunge pack to pack, you tear them up, and you move on. What you are looking at right now is 450 corruption. And it is very, very simple. Volatile Reversal is going to give you a boost to your attack speed and enemies are going to take more damage. Anomaly is going to give you a boost to your attack speed and your crit, and you're going to do more void damage. Sigils are going to give you a boosted survivability, and yes, you're going to do more damage. And Rive is going to have the highest possible echo chance, and you're just going to tear people up with Rive and automated healing hands. At 450 corruption, I mean, this literally feels like nothing. Let me show you a face-tanked Shade of Orbis. Jump out of there. Here we go. Anomaly up. Volatile Reversal up. All right, well, kind of face-tanked. We can't stand in the void rock. But look at our life bounce. We're just going to stand here. 60%. And remember, with this build, you also have kill threshold. And if you want, when I was playing this build, I'll talk about it later, you can dual wield as well. It's not required that you use a two-hander. 42%. 30. Last boss ward. Just sit here and tear him up. Shade of Orbis, you, sir, are dead. Ooh, prophecy fulfilled. Let me show you how to recreate this build. So now let's break down the skills, starting with our damage dealer, which is of course Rive. And man, do I wish I had more points into this skill. There's just so much good stuff we could take. First thing we're gonna do is go top left, and we're gonna get void damage per vitality when we use an axe. An axe is required for this build, and we're gonna double our echo chance. We're then going to come down and we're going to get effects of damage stats on a two-handed weapon, 100%. That is why we are using a two-handed axe. And then we're going to get a boost to our armor and Rive damage with scrap metal. We are then going to come down and we're going to boost our critical strike chance on third strike and double that with focus strike. We are then going to come up and we're going to pull enemies towards us. We're going to get multiplicative damage, and we're going to get kill threshold at 15%, which is great for big boss fight, Aberoth, and Harbingers. Now, if you have more points into this skill tree, you want to put everything right here into Ripples of Oblivion, which is going to give you multiplicative damage, and this will be bonus. This will be tripled if your skill echoes, okay? Moving on to Anomaly. For Anomaly, what you want to do is you want to come down here and you want to get Mark of Rot, which is going to boost the duration. You then want to come up and you want the effects triggered instantly. You are then going to come up and you're going to get a boost to your attack speed. You're then going to come up here and get Time Bubble duration, and the Time Bubble is now cast on you. This is going to add a mana cost, but we don't care about it. And then you're going to come down here and boost your critical strike chance. Moving on to Healing Hands. First thing you want to do is come to the left and make it where every single time you use Rive, you have a 100% chance to trigger Healing Hands. You are then going to come down and you're going to turn this into a melee attack. You're then going to come up and everything that normally works with spell is now going to work as melee. And you're going to get a boost to Void and a boost to Necrotic. You're then going to come down and you're going to make it basically a free skill. Costs 2 mana. And you're going to come down here and make it where you have upfront healing and added healing effectiveness. Moving over to Volatile Reversal. I love this skill. I really love it. First thing you want to do is come up and you want to get a boost to your global attack speed. You then want to get a boost to your movement speed. You then want to come down and make it where enemies take 30% more damage. You then want to go up and down and get a total of 360% to cooldown recovery. So you can use Volatile Reversal all the time. And then your last couple points, you come up here where you have a chance to stun enemies and do more global void damage when you hit an enemy with Void Rift. Last but not least, Sigils of Hope. And I was contemplating if I wanted to use Sigils or if I wanted to use a movement skill, and we just get so much more survivability and damage using Sigils. That is why I have an unspec'd lunge on our bar. What you want to do first is come to the left and get damage per Sigils, fire base, and then convert that to void. You're then going to come up and get a huge boost to your endurance threshold, duration, and maximum sigil. You're then going to come around and get a boost to your global melee damage. And this is all automated through the new ring. Those are the skills. Now let's talk passives. My Void Knight is currently level 98, and I will show you where to put those final 2 points starting in the base Sentinel tree. Now remember that we are using Vitality, and that is going to give us life, and it's actually going to scale our damage. So I have 8 points into Fearless. Now I want to be clear. Strength also helps us with this build. If you need fire or void resistance, you could pull points out of Fearless and you can move them right here into Juggernaut. I don't need any fire or void resistance, but if you need to, you can easily move those over. We have 5 into Armor Clad, 5 into Valiant Charge, and 2 into Time and Faith. Moving over to Void Knight, we have 10 into Abyssal Endurance, just give you life and resistances. We have 2 into Temporal Corruption and 8 into Void Blades. This is going to give you a base plus 24 to your Void damage, which is going to be a big boost for your overall Echo damage. We have 1 point into Void Corruption. Every point in this tree is going to count as Critical Strike multiplier. So at time of recording, I have 76 points. That is 76% Critical Strike multiplier because of this node. We're getting our Leech from World Eater. We have 8 into Doom Knight for strength and health. We have 4 into Woe, 4 into Singular Purpose, which is 100% void damage. We have 10 into Eternal Form, Vitality, Health, and Health per Vitality. We come around and we max out our Echo chance. So 10%, 10%, and 10%. And remember, you're getting a big boost to this through Rive. And all remaining points we just dump right here into Dread. And this is void damage and movement speed. Now, we also have 15 points into Paladin. I have 5 into Defiance, 8 into Valor, and 2 into Blinding Light. Now, I just want to say again, if you need more endurance percent, you could pull points out of Valor, and you could put them right here into Blinding Light. If you don't need any endurance, you can put all 10 points into Valor, but you do need 15 points into the Paladin passive tree so that you unlock Sigils of Hope. Those are the passives. Moving over to Last Epoch tools, we're going to break down the blessings, idols, and gear, starting with blessings. Now, what we're using here is we're going to be shredding void resistance on hit, all resistance, double armor, armor base and armor percent, and chance to stun. Now, looking at this build, I've got a lot going on here, and I just want to be clear, regardless of what anybody says, there is nothing required for this build. Say that one more time. There is nothing required. Now, if you do not have an Apathy's Maw, all right, there is a workaround. Now, this is a fairly easy item to get. It drops from the Shade of Oribus, and the reason why we use it is void focused. It is a two-handed weapon, and it's an axe, which means you get all of your bonuses inside of the Rive tree. But when I was playing this build, I was actually dual wielding at the beginning. So you can play this as a two-handed axe, or you could play it as a one-handed axe, but you do need to have an axe. And just to be clear, if you go dual wielding, all right, you do not need these 5 points. So you save 5 points on your Rive tree. And for example, you could throw that into Ripples of Oblivion, which can give you up to a 75% multiplicative on your echoes. Okay, so you could dual wield and you could completely kill this tree if you want. Just remember that then you have to put 1 point right here into Gladiator so that you can dual wield. Now, but we are using an Apathy's Maw. We are using a Nihilus Amulet, and this is not required. You can use a Nihilus, you can use an Ominous, or you can use just an Oracle Amulet. Not required, but this is what I'm currently using. We're using a Siphon of Anguish to help with Doom. We are using a Sun Seal, so that way we don't have to ever click on Sigils ourselves. We are using a Shattered Chain, not required. Okay. And then we are using Code of the Erased. Now, the reason why I'm using this is obviously you get $1 skills, you get armor, but we are using a trifecta of armor. All right. So Code of the Erase gives you up to a 30% of armor mitigation, also applies to damage over time. The champion base for Sentinel gives you up to a 17% armor mitigation, also applies to damage over time. And we are using Eternal Gauntlets, which gives you up to a 24% armor mitigation, also applies to damage over time. So if you get these decently rolled, you're talking 24, that is 41, and up to 71% armor mitigation applies to damage over time. And currently sitting with only one T6 affix, we are sitting at 13,000 armor, which means damage over time is not going to affect this build, which is just absolutely amazing. For helmet, we're using a Great Helm with Echo damage and Vitality. And when you use a Great Helm with the Citadel boots, you don't have to worry about critical strikes. And again, we are using Vitality and movement speed. And that is the gear. You have maxed resistances. You've got 4,000 life. You've got absolutely insane armor. You have maxed endurance, and you have reduced bonus damage taken from crits. And remember that these stats also don't include your sigils going off. So your endurance is really over 1,000. You are a very tanky Sentinel. Now on the gear, I wanted to spend a little longer on the idols. So on here, we are using Critical Strike Multiplier with Rive on both of these idols. We have double life idols, we've got armor and health, and then we fill in Vitality with void damage and Vitality with physical resistance. But this idol right here, you do want Critical Strike Multiplier with Rive, but you have 3 options when it comes to the suffix. And I will show you that right now. So again, I'm using Chance to Shred Armor on hit, but you could also take armor %, and you have a third option on melee void damage. And really, if you wanted to, we also need physical resistance, and you have shared void. So I guess really you have almost 5 options on your idol. But if you had to pick, I do like having the chance to apply armor shred on hit, but all of them are pretty good. So now let's talk leveling. Aaron, this is great, but how do I take it from level 1 to end game? I will show you. Now, what's great about this build is you can basically do it from the beginning. The main skill you should be leveling with all the time is Rive. Now, what I would do first is I would come down here and grab the critical strike chance, and then I would come up and get the kill threshold. I would not focus around this whole tree until end game, but I would level this skill with Rive. The second skill that I would take is Healing Hands, because Healing Hands, you're going to be able to take it as a melee hit and then come down here and turn it into a melee attack. So I would use Rive and I would use Healing Hands. Now you also want to take a movement skill. I personally like bouncing around the map with Lunge. Lunge has a really low cooldown if you are using a melee attack. So when you lunge and then you use a melee attack, it's going to bring it down. So you can just kind of bounce between every single pack and get multiple charges. So if I was leveling a brand new Sentinel right now, I would use Rive, Lunge, and Healing Hands. All right, everyone, that's the build guide. What do you think of my new and improved Echo Rive? Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I can do to take this to the next level? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Couple of asks at the end. Ask number 1, I'm hoping today is the day I have earned your subscription. I'm hoping today is the day you make the decision to push that little red button. I would really appreciate it, but of course, only if you think I've earned it. And if I haven't earned it, I'm gonna work harder for you. Ask number 2, check out my Patreon. We're at 4,200 members. And just for being a member of my community, we do a giveaway every 2 weeks. So you get to hang out with a non-toxic action RPG community, and you have a chance to win some free games. Ask number 3, first link in the description is my Patreon. We have over 140 members. We have movie night, game night, so much exclusive content, and you get access to the VIP lounge. Check out the link in the description to join the Patreon. I'm done. Hopefully you're entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.